In this video we're going to take a look at my skirt grading rulers. Even though we're looking at the skirt grading rulers, the process will be exactly the same for the bodice grading rulers and the trouser grading rulers and any other grading rulers that I produce. In your pack, first of all, you get a full scale skirt grade sheet in as an AI file, Adobe Illustrator file. You'll also receive, if we just pop over to here, the same sheet as a PDF that you can open in any drawing software such as CorelDRAW, etc. You'll also receive a 20-page printout with all the grade plans on and in full scale, so that you can cut out and use these manually if you wish. So you have here the grade rules for one size up and one size down, and they're all numbered according to the grade plan. Just bear in mind that to use this product you do need to understand grading. You also need to understand Adobe Illustrator if you're wanting to grade in Adobe Illustrator, and to also understand layers. This is a tool to really speed up your grading process. If you want to learn how to grade thoroughly from scratch, then please join me for a grading course. Or if you want to learn how to create patterns, and I show how to create these rulers in my Adobe Illustrator course, then please join me for an Adobe Illustrator course. You also receive a workbook. So the workbook details how to use the rulers as well, along with this video. So we're going to have a look at how to use the grading rulers practically now. Before we begin to use the sheet, let's just take a look at all the individual elements. I have my layers panel open here, and I'm just going to switch everything off one by one here. So if I go back and start to switch them on, here you can see that I've given you my UK 12, USA 8 basic skirt block. So that's just the basic skirt block upon which we're going to plan the rules, or that I've given you the rules, and any pattern developed from this block can use the same rules. So if we just click on the next one up, now you can see that these are the skirt grade rules and rulers, and these are the multi-size rules. So if I just click on one of them and just zoom right in, you can see that they are the rulers that have 6 sizes up and 6 sizes down. However, I don't recommend that you grade 6 sizes up and 6 sizes down unless it's a very simple skirt shape with no darts, etc. I recommend you grade 2 or 3 sizes, stop, check the fit, and then carry on. Let's just get back. If we turn on the next layer, then just let's take a look at what's on there. We have the individual rules here. So not only have I given you the rulers to grade several sizes up and down, I've given you rulers just to grade one size up or one size down. They're referred to in grading terms as incremental rules, and they're just quite quick and easy to use. Let's get back. If we just have a look at the next layer now, we now have the grade rule plans. So here are the plans that I've given you. I've given you the plans in centimetres, so the metric plans, and I've also given you the fractional inch plans. So if we just zoom right in here, you can see that every point that needs to be graded, you can see the movements, and you can also see the number, the grade rule number that I've associated with that point. And as we always start in the top left hand corner, we move around in a clockwise direction. We start with grade rule number 2, as is customary in grading practice, because grade rule number 1 is always 0. It doesn't move. So I've kept in line with regular good practice for grading when I've designed these rulers for you. So if we just move across, that's the metric one, there's a front and a back, and I've also given you the grade plan in inches too. And all the grade rules are both in inches and in centimetres. I've given you the movements, I've given you the fractional inch, I've given you the millimetres, and I've also given you the decimal inch for really, really great accuracy there if you're using inches. Let's go back again. Now we have a size key layer, just a little bit of extra information there for you, or a little bit of extra help in that when you create the extra sizes, I've given you some nice lines there, different colours and different line strokes that you can easily pick up and use. And lastly, just some general rulers and scales there to help you. So let's take a look at how to actually use the rulers and grade with them. Here I have my grade sheet open, so the one supplied for you, and I also have a skirt, so just a basic skirt shape, and have a back and a front. So the first thing you need to do is to make sure that the skirt you're grading is placed in the same orientation as the grade plan. So for example, let's just flip this just to make it slightly different. And I'm lining up my hip lines perfectly there, have a guideline there so that I can keep my eye on everything, make sure it's all perfect. So I'm looking at my grade plan and I can see that I have my centre back here and my centre front here, and then I'm looking at the skirt, and no, it's not in the same position now as the grade plan, so I just need to make sure that it is. So I'm just going to flip that. So that's the first thing we need to do, is to check that we have the same orientation. I'm going to now go back to my grade plan, and I'm going to choose, this time I'm going to show you two methods one by one. So the first method I'm going to show you, and the method that you use will depend on your working practice, how you like to work. I'll show you both, and it's up to you to choose which one you like best. So first of all, let's choose the incremental rules. So they're the individual rules. And they will show us how to grade up one size or down one size. I've also given you rules for longer line skirts, but this time we're just grading a short skirt, so I'm just going to grade the back for now. So I'm going to drag a box around that, Control C, and then go to my skirt style and Control V. So let's just pop those rules there. Just move them up. Now you will need to either refer back to your workbook or to the original grade plan. I switch everything back on now. You'll see that each point is numbered. Grade rule number 1 is always set to 0, so we start on grade rule number 2. 3 is just a guide here to show us how to maintain the grade on the curve of the waist. We have the back dart 1, the back dart 2, the back dart 3. We've used grade rule number 3 here again, just to maintain that curve. 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 there. And they are all numbered and labelled as well. And they're also in your workbook. So once you become familiar with them, then you know automatically where to place them. I'm going to just drag them very quickly and just place them quickly in the, roughly in the area where I want them. So with no precision at first, just throw them on. That's number 5 on the hip, 6 here, number 7 and 8 there on the centre back hip. Now I need to zoom right in and place them accurately, so we want them right on where we want to grade. And it helps if you have your smart guides on, so that you can see that you're placing them in the perfect position. So you zoom in as much as you need to. This one's a guide here, so pop that there. That's our back dart 1. So as soon as it intersects there and I'm happy with it, it's a long way down when you're zoomed in so much, so use your zoom keys just to come in and out. But we need to make sure that they are perfectly placed. And the red dots are on all the cardinal points. And again, right in for accuracy. One more left on the hip, long way up. And that looks good. So we have all our points placed. So here we have, if we just look at our layers, layer number 1 is just our artboard layer. Second layer here is our pattern layer, just our size 12, and then we have our increments layer there. So what I want to do, up from 12, I just want to create another layer, and this is going to be my size 14 UK. It would be a 10 USA. And that gives me another layer for my new size. If you don't want to confuse yourself with layers, then you can simply create the new size in the same layer as the original pattern. I'm also going to drag a box around the rules and just freeze them in place. So lock them, Command and 2. So now I can begin to create the size 14. So I'm going to just go into the size 14 layer, go to my pen tool, and this is just the first way of creating them. I'm going to go in and use my pen tool to go on to all the major points here, all the what we would call the cardinal points, the points that we actually grade. Don't worry about the shape at the moment. Just worry about being on the points that you need to be on. So we finished the shape. I'm now going to zoom in and just check everything. Just make that red so that you can see. So you can see there, I didn't quite get that on the first point, so I'm going to pick that up and pop it right on that point there. Come along. And use my anchor tool, my anchor point tool here, to just curve that down gently. And I've got my guide there. You can see again that I've been a little bit slapdash here. And I still haven't got that point perfectly on, so I'm just using my tools here just to make sure everything is perfect. And I'm going to go around every point and just make sure that I'm happy with the placement. Just gently curve that through there. And make sure that I'm in the centre there. And now I have the hip to curve. So I'm just going to curve this hip out. And this would also be how I would trace something if I was tracing off a shape. And curve that hip until I'm happy with the curve of the hip there. Just going to zoom in here to make sure I'm perfect there. Down to the hem. Just perfect every point. That's just a guide. And there we have our size 14 UK or 10 USA. So the beauty of the layers is that I can just take off the increments there and I can see the size 12. I can switch that off, and then I can switch the 14 off and then put the 12 back on and see the 14. And you would just repeat the process again and again until you reach the number of sizes that you wanted, however remembering to check the fit every 2 or 3 sizes. Let's take a look at using the multi-size rules, and also let's take a look at just a slightly different method of doing this. So it introduces you to some more theory, and also helps you learn a little bit about grading too if you are still learning. So let's go back to our full scale sheet here, and I'm just going to take off the incremental rules, and I'll take off the grade plans there, and if I want to I can just take off the size 12 there, and also we need our grades on, and just the general rulers as well. So I'm just going to drag a box around these rules here, and you can see if I just switch back the size 12 because it's locked anyway, you can see 11, 12, 13 is here, 14, 15, 16, and then we've got the dart rules. So I'm just familiar with the placement of them. So it's either Control C or Command C, and then Command V there. And you can see they paste in their own area there. I just expand that, the multi-size rules. So I'm just going to switch off those incremental rules now. I'm just going to move these over here. So again, I'm just going to click on that size 12 there. I'm just going to lock that. So actually I'll leave it for a moment because I do need it. I'm going to create a copy of this. So if I just do a Control C or Command C on a Mac, and this time Control or Command F, what that's done is pasted a copy of the 12 right on top. Now if you're not happy with layers, just leave it in the same layer, it's fine. I want to create a new layer, so I'm just going to create a new layer here, and I'm going to call this size 10 UK 6 USA, and say OK. And I know I've got my copy highlighted there, so that's my one on top, and it's still in the size 12 layer. I'm going to click on the size 10 layer, right click, arrange, center current layer. So I have that in its own layer. And now I'm just going to lock that size 12 so I can't touch that. I'm going to drag these rulers on in the same way we have done in the past. 11, I don't need those. 12. We've got 13 there. 14 there. 15 and 16 there on the hip. And then we've got our darts rules here. And again, I can get rid of these. I can just zoom in, and I'm going to place these perfectly as I did before. In my need for doing this quickly to show you, I may not place them absolutely perfectly. What I do need to do is make sure that that is right on the anchor point of that dart. And when I'm happy, I can move on. Until I've placed all the points as I did before. And last one, right up here on the hip. Okay, so I have all those rules in place. I can either switch off my size 12 here and my size 10, and I can either drag a box around them and just do a Control and 2 to lock them, or I can just lock the layer. if I want to. So I have a couple of options there. So I'm going to switch on my size 10 and switch on my size 12. Also, I'm going to go into this original file here and I'm going to copy over my size lines and just pop them there to remind me to show you something extra. So we're in the position here where we have our rules, we have our size 12 and we have our size 10 ready to be graded. It's currently a size 12. I want to show you something else. If we go into Control and K, or it would be Command and K on a Mac, and we go to units. At the moment I've got the units set to inches. I'm going to pop them back to millimetres here. And go to General, you can see that my units are set to 1 millimetre. So units, millimetres, and then keyboard increment is 1 millimetre. So every time I use the keyboard arrows to move a point, that point will move 1 millimetre, depending on which arrow I press, left, right, up or down. If I go back to units here and I change that to inches, and I go back to general, you can see that that's changed to a decimal inch, so it's 0.0394 of an inch, and that's the decimal inch equivalent of a millimetre. So it doesn't matter whether I set it to millimetres or centimetres, the movement will be the same. I'm just going to leave it in inches and just keep that as that. Right, so I'm going to go back now to my size 10. Go to my direct selection tool. Bear in mind I'm grading down a size now, and I'm going to do this by picking up the point and using my instructions here. So it kind of teaches you how to grade. So to go down a size, I would go in the X direction 5 millimetres or 5 movements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Y minus 3. So 1, 2, 3. And that's done. I can, if I want to, just pick the point up and drag it on if I'm happy, or it's a kind of double check. So, you know, drag it on to a size down, or if I want to kind of double check it, I can use the movements. So in the X plus 2, 1, 2, and then down 3, 1, 2, 3. So it's entirely up to you. So in this movement here, for a size down in the X, it's minus 7. So to the left, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Down 3, 1, 2, 3. That doesn't need grading, it'll automatically line up when I've done the hem. So here on the hem, size down is X minus 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and up 6. The movements are according to the Cartesian graph, not according to Adobe Illustrator's method of moving X and Y movements, which is not according to mathematical theory. They've moved it round for some strange reason. So size down, X plus 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then plus 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then up we go to the hip. I do know with my blocks that my point for the hip is slightly lower than the hip level, so my point is here. So for a size down it's 1, 2, 3, and I might just want to grab that and just curve it in slightly to make sure I'm there. And I will need to just curve that hip until I'm satisfied with it. So you can see now that we've created a size 10. And also what I've done is I'm just going to take the size 12 off, and let me take off the rulers because we don't need them anymore. So if I pop the size 12 on, my 12 is always, or my base size I always tend to have with just the regular black line. And if I switch my 10 on now, then if I highlight my 10 and use my eyedropper tool and pick up the line that I've designated for this one size down from my base size, and that just gives it a new size line. So feel free to use those. If I was going to change the line colour and stroke of the size 14, then I would pick up the size 14 stroke. So it just helps you keep on top of your graded lines. So there we have a size 10 and a size 12.